What's going on, everybody? Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, aka Man of the People. I'm sorry for being late, but there's a lot of new people here at this channel, so let me tell you a little bit about me. One is I always give you behind the scenes, and I like to get to know you and let you get to know me. So, with that being said, I am broadcasting tonight from the home. Got a 2-year-old. Actually, he'll be 23 months tomorrow. We had a nosebleed. So the nosebleed made us push everything back a little bit tonight. So my apologies, but that is why I'm late. But those who are still here and joining me tonight and watching the rebroadcast will enjoy a very, very good show tonight. Have lots of things to talk about, lots of good content. And hey, I appreciate you all coming. Let's see here. Let me just make sure everything is going okay with the broadcast. All right, we look good to go. So let's go ahead and get into it since we're a few minutes late. Well, let me also start by saying this. Memberships are now active on the channel, okay? So if you have been a good supporter of Charlotte Vibe or you'd like to be a supporter of the channel, help us continue to grow, help us do what we're doing, then there is now the option to join as we are independently funded by viewers like you. That's the only way that we get to do what we do is through funds collected from donations and members. So please consider doing that. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Today we're going to go through some highlights from practice. I'm going to show you some videos from practice. I'm going to go over some press conference information in which we're talking about the transactions that have taken place recently. And then, what you all love to see and hear about, our breakdown about practice today and what I was able to see at practice today. So hopefully with the 11 people that were upset with my slow start, we'll get some thumbs up that allows people to for the likes to surpass the thumbs down. We're early on. We're already now 8 to 11. 11 thumbs down for being late, 8 for those that are joining me here today. So what's up, Charlie? Appreciate you tuning in. What's up, Dominique Howard? Appreciate you tuning in. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So the big thing today, and it was surprising, and here's again value from this channel. I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective about, as a media member with things happening. So Marquan McCall was waived today. Our nose tackle, Marquan McCall. And it surprised a lot of people. Didn't see it coming. He had been listed as a starter. He did see some decreased role this past Saturday in New York. But it's kind of hard to tell exactly when a guy may have a decreased role, especially in the preseason, because they try to do so many different things where they're getting different looks at different people and different situations of people. So even this past Saturday, his reps did not stand out to anyone. But when he was waived, I tell you, my first thought was like, well, wait a minute, weren't we just talking to Marquan last week? And he was at the podium, and I know it's no guarantee for any player being here, but it's like, sometimes it's a little extra weird for me in the media when you see a guy and there's all this feel good and nice stories and conversation, and next week he's gone. So I know a lot of fans felt surprised, and so Coach Frank Reich open to talking about that today in his press conference, which I'm going to play for you in a moment. But let's also talk about what happened with Marquan being waived. With Marquan being waived, we agreed to terms with former LA Ram, former guy that has experience with our defensive coordinator, Vero, Troy Hill. And so Troy Hill was in Charlotte today. Has not signed his contract yet. So he still has to go through a physical and then sign his contract, at which point things will be made official. So right now the move with Marquan was making room for Troy, which they agreed to terms with, and will be a cornerback with the team. Will he play this Friday versus the Detroit Lions? We'll see. I'm going to say probably not, because of the way that this coaching staff has been, I don't want to say limiting players, but just how cautious they're being with things. Like Brian Burns hasn't played a snap. Justin Houston hasn't played a snap. So I don't feel like they're going to be too pressed to get Troy some snaps. I feel like they're going to more want work him during practice, make sure that he's in good condition, make sure that he's knowing the assignments. And this is not a game that counts. They don't need him to come in right away against Detroit. That I feel strongly that they will rest him through this game and then come the home opener. I keep saying home opener, but the season opener in Atlanta against the Falcons is when we will see him. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to it now. We're now even. There were 11 thumbs down. Now we're surpassing. Now we got 12 thumbs up. Again, I know all those thumbs downs came before we even got on air. For people being upset, I appreciate the feedback. I will continue to make sure that if we're going live at a time, that's the time that we're going live. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, or I'm going to show Frank Reich talking about the release of Marquan, and then we're going to talk about the release of Marquan. All right, here we go.
I think it does come down to the two things that we're talking about. It really comes down to fit with a certain scheme and style that we're looking for. And then some of the young guys that we've brought in have really risen to the challenge. And so it's been very competitive, right? This time of the year, as you guys know, like this next week is, for us coaches, this is as tough as it gets because you feel like legitimately, I feel like every guy on our 90-man roster, I feel like every one of these players is good enough to make a 53-man roster. And so, when you get to this side, when you get to this point, it's pretty tough.
So there you go. Frank Reich talking about the decision with Marquan and that it was about a fit. There's more questions about what kind of fit was he not. He has the size, he has the experience of a guy that you want in that 3-4 defense in the center. My takeaway from it, and this is no inside source, it's just my takeaway from him talking today, was that the younger guys are making a good enough impression with him, with the team, with the coaching staff. And a younger guy is always a good thing when you're trying to build something for years to come. And so perhaps that was the biggest thing against Marquan, was that he was older. These other guys, the younger guys, were coming on strong. We needed to sign a new guy. And even though Marquan isn't that old, he's still a relatively young guy. It was, I'm not a person that knows all the details of contracts, but I even wonder if his salary was something that made it, well, hey, we can save a lot of money and continue to have some flexibility to continue to make moves during the season. Scott Fitterer loves to be in on every call. Taking every call, in on every deal. Try to quickly see if I can see Marquan's contract to share that with you guys. But that was my early thoughts. Was, man, paying this new guy, get the other guy out. Let's see. Looks like Marquan's contract, it's not a big one. Looks like just under $1 million that he was getting paid on some of these things here. So interesting. Yeah, he wasn't high. Yeah, so that ruins that theory, right? About the money part. So throw that out the window. Let me go ahead and jump into this God of Blackness. Jumped right on in here with the super chat. God of Blackness, I haven't seen you in quite a minute, I don't think. But I appreciate the super chat. And again, we now have memberships up for you to help support this channel, allow us to continue to do what we do. You should notice there's tons more content this year than it was last year. I have not missed a practice. I have not missed a game, whether it's home or away. I want to continue to be able to make every away game. And I'm just going to be frank. It costs anywhere from $800 to $1,200 per person each time that we go. Two of us were in New York. So I'll wrap it up to say anytime you can, it's greatly appreciated. There's also a link in the description for anyone who may want to do Cash App. That way we don't lose all those fees because YouTube takes quite a bit. Appreciate it, God of Blackness. So first explanation, there you go. All right, so he talked a little bit more about it. We'll play that clip for you as well.
I was just thinking about, great question. because I was just thinking about that this morning at the walkthrough, thinking about coming into this last game, what's the message to the team? And, I don't know if this is the right or politically correct way to say it, but that recency bias of, I want these guys to know, like, it's amazing how much impact one last good game can make. It can make a difference in you making this team or in you making another team. So we come into this last game, there are still some decisions that are up. We might be leaning one way or the other, but like there's still opportunities for everyone.
Just what does he bring?
Yeah, so that's Coach talking a little bit more about it. Let me put this link in the description. This is a link for you to come on the show and ask any questions or make a statement. But I'm not going to post it yet. Stay tuned. I have some play-by-play stuff that I want to go over, and then I'll open it up for questions, all right? So link coming in a moment where I'm going to allow you to come onto the show, whether you're on your computer, whether you're on your phone. It'll allow you to come on. Again, let's interact. You have a friend in the media in Charlotte Vibe, okay? So let's go ahead and, that'll be it about Marquan. I'll continue to try to figure out, put some feelers out there to see if I can figure it out. If you all have any ideas or any theories that you'd like to share about it, please do, because, it's just interesting. But Raequan Williams played last week and did pretty good. Raequan had 4 tackles, had a sack, had a tackle for a loss, 2 quarterback hits. So, he did fine, and he's a young guy as well, actually a little bit older, age-wise than Marquan. But it's weird. It's football. It does happen. So at least you know this. At least you know that they seemingly are not afraid to make changes to continue to put this team in the best position to win each and every Sunday. Right? That's what it's showing me. That's what it's telling me so far. All right, so I see the questions coming. Please continue to leave the questions, and we will get back to them. So what I'm going to do now is go into my snap count, not snap count, but the observations of the snaps that I have from practice today, share them with you all, allow you to kind of feel like you were there and continue to know, have your feelings on where you think this team may be going for this season. Somebody said it's not a Charlotte Vibe video if I don't take a drink of water. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I just don't want to sound all raspy on you guys as I still clear my throat, right? All right, so I'm not going to go over every single play, but I will talk about some things that stood out from today. Actually, let me go ahead and share a little video. Let's share a little video. So, Eddie Pinheiro wasn't passed today. How much did I see him do stuff? Not very much at all. Not much. I didn't see him do anything, actually. I did have a chance to see some of the Mr. Wright, the current kicker. They were actually kicking the ball into the bubble. like literally they line up right in front of the bubble, kick the ball, and it seemed like he was trying to hit the A in Atrium Health because it's the Atrium Health bubble. I was told that's a game that they play, and I guess it was because after they did that for a while, they then went over to the other side of the field and started kicking some traditional field goals. So all kinds of interesting things happen during practice, and I'm just here to share it with you as much as I can. Raheem Blackshear definitely got the bulk of the carries today, as we're still dealing with some players that were not in pads today at practice. And we also had some guys that came to practice for the first time. So let me go over that list. This is as best as I had it of guys that were not dressed today. So let me get to my list. Dante Jackson, Stanley Thomas Oliver, Greg Maben, Kate Mays, Cam Irvin, Deontay Brown, Steven Sullivan, Terrace Marshall, Henry Anderson, Jordan Thomas. Eddie Pinheiro was back out there, as well as Andy Dalton was back out there, which you guys will see. So let me go ahead and get into some more of these observations from practice today. Get back to my notes. There were still, and I was thinking on how I want to say this, but I'm just going to tell you what I see. That's just what I like to do. I'm not going to dress it all up and try to. But here's the offensive line still has some troubles, and for me, I've seen these troubles for a while, and I don't. I have to now try to think like, am I being over hypersensitive to saying it because I can't expect every single play for the offensive line to not allow anybody to get anywhere near Bryce. Was I spoiled by what I saw last year? But I will say this regarding this first comment. This was like my very first note. I don't know if it was the very first rep, and I always tell you all that these stats and everything I'm going down is unofficial. I'm watching it by myself. I got a pair of binoculars, and I try to not miss any plays or get any numbers wrong, but I could. So it seemed like on the very first play, Bryce had to run the ball out. He just had to jog it to the side, didn't have a throw. So I'm thinking like, wow, here we go at the very top. We're already seeing this. But next play, Bryce then had a pass breakup. Then Bryce had a completion. And then something interesting happened, and we'll get a chance to ask Coach about this tomorrow, was you saw the whole offensive side of the ball just did a sprint. And the defense just watched. And interestingly, and I guess as this should be, leaders of the team, the quarterbacks were out in the front in that group. Bryce, Andy, Matt Corral, and Jake. But they ran a sprint the whole width of the field down. Well, I shouldn't say down because it's not the length, but across and then back across. Why did they have to run that sprint? I have no idea. I'm just here to report to you what I see at practice. Next play, Bryce was in the shotgun and wasn't the best protection in my opinion again. So again, a few just early on like mistakes, and it just baffles me in a sense like I don't know where it's coming from. I didn't see this kind of thing coming, that you'd see things with the offensive line just looking inconsistent, right? It's the same people pretty much, but one guy that was there last year, but you're still seeing inconsistencies, not just from that position in which Corbett's missing, but just in guys that are in the same position that they were last year. It's a little intriguing. Next play, Bryce was in the shotgun, hit Mingo. He overthrown the Mingo. But today, I will say this because I saw a question coming in. It looked like, in my opinion, Mingo was heavily targeted today, and Chark continues to have a really good connection with Bryce Young, especially on intermediate to deep balls. And Chark has a very, very great way in which he's always jumping, leaning, twisting to catch these balls. And I really feel like at this point that Chark's going to be his deep guy. All right, let me continue on. See, Dalton was in a quarterback because he was back out there today in pads. And just an interesting note, first time that Andy's out there, they break the huddle. This is just my assumption. Maybe they didn't like the way that the huddle was broke. It wasn't cohesive. It wasn't how they needed to be. And they went back to the huddle again, broke the huddle, and came back out. So it's just some little like, Interesting things that are going on with the offense. All right, continue on through my notes here. I may have to grab my laptop charger, so that's why you see me reaching down. Andy Dalton comes in, he hits Ian Thomas. Another note here with Bryce. Bryce doing a little play action. I think play action might be something that they have to do. I don't know how much they plan on doing it. I know a lot of this stuff was vanilla offense that you'll see. I'm pretty sure that the vanilla offense will continue this week with them playing the Detroit Lions. And I'm extremely sure that, and I guess I'm almost willing to take bets, even though I'm not a betting man, is that we're not going to see very much at all against the Detroit Lions. And you know, I was wanting to see Bryce and company for a while, but we played the Detroit Lions pretty early on in the season. So hold on, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to play some practice video for a second because I need to disappear and plug up my laptop. So give me 1 second. Enjoy some more video. All right, I'm back. So when in doubt, just have extra video so people don't see you plugging up your laptop. Continuing on through some of my notes here. Another pass. Defensive cornerbacks did play well today. They had several pass breakups. And let me see if I can give you all the interceptions. Well, I'm going to get to it, but defensive cornerbacks had several pass breakups, and they also had several interceptions today. And so I still just continue to feel like the defense is winning. Each week in practice, each day in practice, I feel like if I was probably go back and look at all my videos, that it might be like, defense wins 10 times. It was a tie 5 times, and maybe the offense won twice. I don't know, but it definitely seems like, in my opinion, that the defense is winning most of the time. Continuing to go through some of my notes here. So I'm not naming all the guys again. Once it gets to a closed practice, it's just media. Can't really give detail for everything that I see. But, you know, Bryce was hitting Adam Thielen. Shi Smith was catching some balls as well. Hayden Hurst as well, Ian Thomas as well. Just letting you know, ball was spread around pretty good, even though Mingo and Chark were the two that had the most targets today. We also had an injury during practice today. We had number 52, which is DJ Johnson, guy that I interviewed. So here's a quick plug. If you haven't checked it out, I have a lot of one-on-one interviews, more than anybody that you'll see outside of the Panthers. So there's actually a playlist dedicated strictly to my one-on-one interviews. I interviewed all the rookies this year, with the exception of Bryce Young. So please go ahead and take a look at that. I think you'll enjoy it. And I also asked you all about some suggestions for the next person to interview. I got a few suggestions, but if you have some more, it's still got time because I have not officially set up my next interview yet. But so DJ Johnson kind of walked gingerly over to the tent that they got set up at practice, and he was over there for a minute. So I'd say I guess it wasn't something major because he wasn't like to the cart and then immediately take it inside. He went over to the tent, was over there for a good 5-7 minutes, and then eventually left on the cart to go inside for some further evaluation. We don't have a chance to talk to the coaching staff after practice today, so I don't have any further updates on that other than let you know that he did leave practice on the cart today. Didn't even see the play that he got hurt on. Let's see. Derek Wright with some catches today. And then here's the interception. Let me see if I can look through my notes to see which guy this was with the interception today. Comments, please keep them coming. I'm just going through my notes from practice, and then once I get through my notes from practice, I am going to go interact with you guys in the comments. So, looks like Jeremy Chin was one of the guys. I'm continuing to go through my notes here. And then, so I have that has been intercepted by Jake, and then Bryce was intercepted as well. Just going through all my notes here to make sure I'm talking correctly. Bryce was intercepted by Colin Duncan, a rookie. And then some more connections to chalk. Some handoffs were in there. Matt Corral had a batted ball. I know that was the big thing about Bryce and his height, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be a concern, but that's certainly gone away. But Matt Corral did have a batted ball today, and then completion to Shi Smith. Corral had to throw the ball away. Bryce then connecting with Ian and Raheem. Bryce then threw an incompletion. And this was one of those ones where I wish I could see the tape, because you want to go back and look at a few things before you say, hey, what exactly was that? But it was a deep pass that was thrown, and I don't know if it was a miscommunication or somebody ran the wrong route, because it was certainly, Bryce had already thrown it and the guy cut, but if he had kept going straight, he would have connected and possibly caught the ball. But he cut it short and towards the out of bounds, not where the ball was thrown. After the wide receiver kind of threw his hands up in a way that made me think that he did not run the route correctly. I am just completely speculating, just trying to paint a picture again about things that are seen during practice. Nevertheless, it was absolutely an incomplete pass from Bryce down the field. Andy Dalton's in with a handoff. And then Corral did draw the defense offsides today. So here was something that the defense didn't do too good. They had an offsides. And it's pretty interesting to see when there is an offside by either offense or defense, especially if it's not first team, then that guy has to come out and another guy gets a rep. So that was kind of cool to see them doing that. So that's my notes from practice today. Again, I'm not giving you all the great details that I gave at training camp, which are open to the public, just because media can't give everything that we observe out, but I want to report as much as I can to you all. Hope you appreciate it and enjoy it. Super chats are always welcome. If you are watching, donations are welcome, and joining is now something that's an option. All right, so let me go ahead and post this link back into the description. It's now time for you guys to join the show. All right, let me get this out there. It's also in the description, but I'm going to take a moment and pin it at the top of the comments. Love for you all to join the show. Let me know what you think. Let me know your questions. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Just 1 second. All right, so we just pinned that out there for the world to join us and ask any questions. And now I'm going to spend some time going over these comments. This one's from Dominique Howard. Chris, what are your thoughts on the lack of offensive production and lack of coverage with our secondary at times so far? So there is a lack of production on the offense. There is a lack of production from the starters on offense. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to see much to say what's really going to happen, because to me, from what I've seen, things are always short, and then there's that occasional attempt to go deep. But it hinges on Bryce getting the protection to be able to throw that ball. And I'm not even talking like deep, but just that protection to be able to say, I'm watching this guy run a post and out or whatever it is. And if somebody chases me off my spot so much, then I can't throw it. You know, the timing goes off, and I may have to come to a route that's shorter, because I can then make that quicker and safely than I could an off an off-timing pass that has to go further down the field, which then, if it's not as accurate, gives a defender a better chance coming and breaking up that ball or creating an interception, which you don't want. So I'm just going to hope that there's some play calling that they do in walkthroughs that the media hasn't seen, that they're going to have available, that's going to give them some opportunities to continue to move the ball, because it definitely seems like there's an issue there. I know that Laviska Shenault was a guy that you really thought before we got into a lot of training camp that he would be one of those guys that could really make this thing just have a lot of possibilities on the offense, right? The more possibilities you have, the more you can keep the defense on their heels, the more that you have a chance to continue to move the ball downfield. And perhaps that's the big oh no for this coaching staff. I don't know. I'm just saying perhaps that's it, because things do look so 5-yard check down, 5-yard check down. And we can't even have that work, even though some people may be like, man, this isn't exciting. I'll air the ball out. I'll still say, hey, if they're doing 5-yard check downs and they're getting first downs, they're moving the ball down the field, we're having like 12-minute drives, I'm good with that. But right now, we can't even get the ball down the field, well enough to do that. We can't protect the quarterback well enough for him to do that. You got guys that are not rookies making mistakes. Last week it was Taylor Moton. This week it was Akeem Ikwanu. It's just strange. So there's definitely concern there, Dominique. Lack of coverage with our secondary at times so far. I noticed a trend in New York with it. I felt like they were picking on the left side, which is where Dante was. He then came out with that ankle injury, so I don't know if that was bothering him any. But for the defense, I have the lesser concern because I know they're not playing some pretty important pieces. Just last week with the Giants, they're not playing Derek Brown. They're not playing Justin Houston. They're not playing Brian Burns. Guys that can get pressure on the quarterback, which allows the cornerback to play, differently, a lot differently if you know that he's got some pressure on him. So those are my thoughts. Appreciate the question very much, Dominique. Sloan with some thumbs up. I appreciate those thumbs up very much. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Let's continue to go through here. Give me 1 second. All right, so continue to move through these comments. Charlie says, how is Jamie Newman? Not sure of the Jamie Newman reference, as I do not know of a Jamie Newman for the Carolina Panthers. But Jonathan Mingo, in my opinion, all these receivers are improving each week, making some strides. And today I noticed that Jonathan Mingo had quite a few targets, pulled in quite a few balls. So Jonathan Mingo is looking pretty good right now. Absolutely looking pretty good right now. Oh, here's your correction. All right, so you're talking about Jamie Robinson. So he's looked okay. Jamie Robinson's looked okay. He looks like right now a guy that is not going to be an immediate impact. May have some some special teams, or just maybe just needs a moment to continue to discover who he is at the NFL level. For me, I need some water, obviously. Hold on a second. I think I could benefit from a water sponsor, but nevertheless, I feel like Jamie Robinson needs to improve on his tackling and maybe his angles. But it's been several times where I've looked and like, not sure about those angles that we're taking. So he's a work in progress. Appreciate the question, Charlie. Continue to work through some of these. Ali Broderick, welcome back. Chris, I'm late. You're not late. If you're here with me now, you're good to go. All right, let's see. Look like we got someone who is joining us. And just remember, whenever you go to join the show, I need to see your video. I do have video, so let's go ahead and bring on Clint. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Pretty good. How are you? Thanks for joining me tonight.
I'm doing, man. Thanks for having me, man. I'm so happy that I was able to catch it this time, man. I love the content. Love the
Appreciate it.
content.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm working hard this year.
Yeah, you definitely are, man. So I wanted to talk about, man. Do you see Trimble surpassing Ian later on in the season or sometime soon? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
You got multiple questions, or is that just the one?
That's one, and the other one, the only other one I have is really just the same question we all have. Line, and then the last one is your preference. Do you think we'll do better starting off on offense or defense? Will like with the coin toss on Friday night? Which one would you rather start off with? I know
Okay.
it's a lot, Chris. I'm sorry. I should be
Nah,
more organized. I'm
nah, you
sorry about
good.
that.
You good. You good. That's my job, man, to stay organized through this whole show. So I'll touch on all those for you. First one was about Tommy Tremble and Ian, who would be at the top. So I would go to say, Ian has some previous advantage due to his blocking. But I feel like Tommy has been okay with his blocking. I mean, he's not a bad blocker at all. I don't feel like there's a huge difference. But I feel like Tremble, though basically all these tight ends have dropped some passes. Tremble and Ian Thomas. I remember them, catching the ball, turning upfield, and Spartanburg the ball getting knocked out. So I certainly feel like Tommy Tremble can put some pressure on Ian to get some more playing time than Ian Thomas. Yes. So that was your first question. And then the other one was about the offensive line, I guess asking my concern there on the offensive line, right?
Right. I recently saw that we signed somebody this week, but I wasn't particular on the name, or I didn't do my research on who it was or how good they were.
Well, offensive line, we hadn't had any signings recently. We did just sign Troy Hill, I believe.
Oh, I'm
Let,
sorry.
let
That's
me,
right. I'm sorry. That's a cornerback, correct?
yeah, on the cornerback
Yeah.
side. And then in signing him, we released our nose tackle, Marquan, to make room for that. So, but on the offensive line, I can't deny that there's concern, man. I keep thinking like, am I being over analytical? Am I being hard on these guys? Am I just wanting them to be like superstars? But I don't feel like I am, because ever since, and like I clearly remembered, ever since they put on pads down in Spartanburg, I've seen the defense have more plays where they're just excelling and dominating than I have seen on the offense. And I saw it the first week they were in pads. I saw it the second week they were in pads. I saw it, you know, not much actually during the scrimmage, the joint practice with the Jets, but the game with the Jets, you saw something different. And then you see it again this past weekend in New York. So it just seems like those guys, and it's puzzling because it's not like the rookies. It's not like the same guy. It's a different guy each week that's
Right.
having problems. So I do have
Mm.
concern on the offensive line. I think your last question, let me see if I did it right with my notes. Um, yeah, I got your last one. So would I rather have the offense or defense come out if we win the coin
Right.
toss? We usually let the defense come out, right? I'm still okay with the defense coming out. That way you can have the offense
Okay.
start at the second half. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd ever change my feeling on that one.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, that was just, I know team specific, we might be thinking a little different. I saw it was a Troy Pride sighting the other night, man. Brought me back, man. Yeah. But yeah, Chris, I'm so happy that you had me on, man. I don't want to take up much more time. I know there are plenty of fans that want to get in, man. I really appreciate getting on here. Keep pounding, and I'm a proud supporter of the channel.
Hey, appreciate it, and come on every single time if you had a chance, man. Love to have you back.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's what it looks like when you come on the show. It's going to be something that we do all season long. Want you to be on. That's why we go live, so we can be interactive, hear what you have to say, whether it's a question, a comment. We want to be a part of it, right? You have a friend in the media. You have that source in your back pocket with Charlotte Vibe. So let me continue to work through some of these comments. Appreciate everybody that's leaving these comments, by the way. God of Blackness. G-Tour lasted longer than McCall. Let that sink in. That is correct. That is correct. G-Tour has lasted longer than McCall. Maybe G-Tour is somebody that could be potentially traded better than McCall, even though Frank mentioned that he strongly believes that McCall is going to be picked up pretty quickly. But, and I forgot to say this earlier. How about, actually, I'm going to play it again really quick. Notice the question was asked to Coach about who's going to start now that McCall is out. Check out his answer and let me know what you think about this. I played this earlier, but I forgot to point this out. So here again, this is in response to Frank Reich being asked about the replacement for McCall.
I was just thinking about, great question, because I was just thinking about that this morning at the walkthrough, thinking about coming into this last game, what's the message to the team? And, there's I don't know if this is the right or politically correct way to say it, but that recency bias of, I want these guys to know, like, it's amazing how much impact one last good game can make. It can make a difference in you making this team or in you making another team. So we come into this last game, there are still some decisions that are up. We might be leaning one way or the other, but like there's still opportunities for everyone.
Hill, just what does he bring?
So he didn't answer the question to say, and I guess a little bit of it could be like, I don't want to give the starter, appoint that starter yet, because I want him to continue to work hard. I'm not promising him anything, even though this move does give him, whatever that player, is, a pretty good indication that he's going to have that opportunity. But it's just strange that you release a guy that has a lot of people puzzled, and then you don't even know who's going to replace him. Coaches talk? I don't know. I'll just tell you what I do know. All right, Bruce Nelson is not liking what's going on. Bruce says this guy is Rule 2.0. I never wanted this guy as our head coach. All right, who else feels like that? Who is starting to have some questions about Frank Reich as the head coach for this team? 0-2 so far, preseason games. Things have been happening during those preseason games. They were shut out in the first preseason game. All right, Bruce, I'll put that question out there for you. I'll see what comes back from it. God of Blackness. Wish we still had Stephon Gilmore. Jimmy, how do you honestly feel about the wideouts? I feel pretty good about the wideouts. Pretty good in the sense that I feel like they are serviceable. I feel like you have Mingo, that's a rookie, that has a chance to come on and be an impact. He, during my interview with Mingo, please check it out if you have not done so. I had a one-on-one interview with Jonathan Mingo, but I was just asking him about what skill set does he have at the wide receiver position that really makes him valuable. And he just talked about, I don't believe the first person should bring me down. I'm a physical runner, especially if it's a cornerback, you're not going to bring me down. And then lo and behold, you see him get a catch against the Giants, in which he does that. He doesn't let the first person bring him down, and he runs hard after the catch. So continue to develop some chemistry with Bryce. I like Mingo as a guy that could have some trajectory, possibly even better than Terrace Marshall Jr. this year, because of what he's making an impact already and getting a lot of catches. And in practice, and we'll see what he continues to do in the game. You got Chark that's available. You got Thielen that shows that he's kind of going to be that veteran that just knows how to get open, right? You got Thielen that's a part of that group. You then have LaVisca, who's disappeared. You don't know. I mean, after those three-ish, you start to drop down even more. So the key will certainly be those guys staying healthy where they're not down to now Shi Smith has to be the guy that you're dependent on. So we'll continue to see. I don't give the wide receiver group like an A rating. I give them, B minus right now, maybe C plus-ish is what they could be, which could be enough, right? If your other pieces like Miles Sanders coming onto the team, if he's able to be a good piece of this. So we haven't seen a game where Miles Sanders is out there and we're able to put some pressure on the defense with maybe some good running from Miles, some good catching out the backfield on Miles where we can then do some play action, bootleg or something, and then start to just kind of keep the defense on their heels. It'll be something we'll just have to keep an eye out for. Bruce is staying firm. Don't tell him to ease up. Frank is a bad coach. Jimmy says, I think Mingo is going to be special. Okay. Chris, keep the intel coming. You can swap bugs and drink water all day. Hey, I'm sincerely glad that everybody's appreciating the content. It is a beast to be standing out there for 2 hours in the sun, sweating, trying to write down notes from each play that I see at practice to bring them back. And I can promise you, I think about, man, I'm going to just skip today. I can't watch all this. It's just too hot. I'm not a guy that sweats, and I'll be pouring down sweat, but I'm going to do it. I'm here for you guys. So, Matt Chatter, I appreciate the feedback and the comment. Continue to work through some of these. You guys are obviously having some conversation about the coaches here. Cut the check sports bet. I'm assuming you enjoy some sports betting. But nevertheless, will Dalton get reps in this week's game? That is an absolutely, positively, 1,000% no. There has been no plans at any point have the coaches given an indication that Andy Dalton would have reps in the preseason, saying that they pretty much know what he can do. They don't need to see him. They'll give him a lot of reps in practice, but they're going to reserve the reps during preseason games primarily for Matt Corral and now Jake Luton that they've acquired, and of course Bryce Young. So Andy Dalton also had a back injury last week that kept him out of practice a couple days. He didn't even dress for the game in New York. Rest assured, Dalton will not be a part of the game plan this weekend. But thanks for the question very much. Continue to work through this. See another comment. The offense and defense secondary just concern me going into the regular season. So the offensive, yes. Defensive, I feel like once they got all their guys up front, giving them the pressure, that it'll be different. It won't be, and it hasn't been bad. It was just some things that if you were looking really closely, you noticed early on in that New York game that I think we won't have to worry about. The Potts Group, nice logo there. In your opinion, is the coach building a winning culture? It's too early to tell. It's really too early to tell. We haven't been in the locker room yet, which is another time that you really get a chance to start to feel more what the culture is being for the team. You can start to get an idea when you're around the team every day, going to practices, but it's nothing like going to the locker room where you get to watch, see, and hear some more things that give you an idea of the culture. We haven't been allowed in the locker rooms yet, except for after a post game, and I haven't been in the locker room post game. And I just had to say, Potts, you got to come back to me on that question so I can know. I mean, obviously right now they're 0-2. I mean, I don't know if you want to dictate or speak about what the coach could be based off preseason games being 0-2. So, like the question, don't feel like I have enough information to answer it yet. Please circle back to me and I will give you some more opinion as I get to know it. All right, Christopher Holyfield says, what is the deadline for Brian Burns' contract to be finalized and any word on that front? So, pretty sure with the people that we're going to get a chance to talk with tomorrow that questions will be asked on any updates on the Brian Burns contract. Probably not going to get much on it because it just continues to seem like they're waiting for like the Brian Bosa contract to be done. And then that kind of sets the tone for what kind of contract that Brian Burns would get. And up until this point, there's no, Brian Burns is under contract. So right now there is no deadline for it. He is on this team throughout the entire season unless he just decides to sit out. So if you want to say technically, well, then it's next year is the deadline to get Brian Burns under contract. Appreciate the question, Christopher. C-Dog, always reminding you guys to hit the like button. It's free. Hit the like button just if you appreciate me standing out in the sun, what is, I don't know, like the 20th time this season to bring in these updates. It really does help other people find out about this channel, which helps us grow, which helps me do more with getting interviews from coaches and players. And I'm promising you, we're up to 8,000. We're getting closer to that 10,000. The growth that this channel has had with you all liking the videos and subscribing to the channel is allowing me to get what is teeing up to be a really, really good interview that I can't say yet because the I's have not been dotted, the T's have not been crossed, but it helps, all right? And I can assure you there's no better guy out there that once I get this bigger following, have more influence to get you things that you want, that I'm going to be pushing to get questions answered from you. So appreciate that, C-Dog. What's going on, Quentin? Appreciate you coming in there a moment ago. Look at this. Look at this. C-Dog there we go. Super chat from C-Dog 1983 TV. Great show, Chris. Hit the like button. I appreciate it very, 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 very much. Thank you so much. Oh, I like this comment from Dominic. I'm glad we picked up Hill because Dante is injury prone at times. You can't, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. See if we got any other comments or things that I haven't talked about that I could touch on for you all. Everybody's doing a great job of commenting and coming on the show. I appreciate it very much. Some criticism about the coaches. You my boy. I was a strong Steve Wilkes supporter, but I'm optimistic about what Frank can do with the team. Keeping it real though, we have an entirely new staff with a rookie quarterback. We are only going to do so much. So, yeah, I can't start to get mad at the coach yet because I really don't know him completely, right? I'm starting to formulate some ideas, but it's still like it's only been 2 preseason games. I haven't liked the 2 preseason games. I haven't liked the offensive line. I haven't liked some things, but it's like, man, what can I say? They also have the #1 draft pick. They have a rookie quarterback that's starting. And I just can't go into saying anything about the coach, him not being good, us needing to make a change. Tepper got duped again, at least until I'm midway through the season. I mean, if I could know sooner if we're absolutely horrible, but he could be absolutely great. anytime that you're new at a job, I don't care what that job is, whatever that job is, right? It could take a little bit of time for you to be in real action for you to say, oh, okay, I got this. And I feel like that could be something that happens with this coaching staff. I certainly feel optimistic with them, having so much experience across the board, so much experience that I can assure you that if after game one, if they get blown out and it just looks pretty ugly, that one of those coaches is going to say, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting, whether it's Thomas, whether it's Ivero, whether it's Frank, whether it's Dom. I mean, you got such a deep coaching staff that it would just blow my mind if it's like a train wreck. And again, coaches aren't saying like, hey, we need to do something different. You got guys with so much experience in so many different areas to say, hey, maybe I was playing here. Anyway, I don't want to go off too big of a tangent, which I feel like I'm about to go on. Appreciate the comment, my boy Blue, for coming on. We've got about 5 more minutes before we're going to jump off of here. Appreciate everybody so much for being a part of this show tonight. What's going on, Andre Aubin? Hopefully I got that correct. Stefan, is this Stefan Sullivan? Chill, bro, it's just preseason. No consistent lineups, and not all the starters are starting on both offense and defense. Focus on depth. Quentin, I'm not following all these comments here, but he says Frankie is the energy. Frankie Louvu, yeah, Frankie had a nice play today in practice that he would have blew up the quarterback for sure if it was contact. He moved around a little bit pre-snap, got into his spot, went straight in towards the quarterback, and just kind of was like, woo, what that would have been if that could be live football. So Frankie Louvu definitely has the energy, definitely has been playing pretty well, and has been quite a steal for Carolina Panthers. C-Dog said he's going to buy me lunch in Atlanta. Yeah, I will certainly be in Atlanta. My co-host Andre will be with me. Can't say that we could take you up on lunch because we're not going to get there until Saturday evening. We're going to drive down. And then Sunday is all day at the stadium doing our show and what we do. We will be live pregame on the field down in Atlanta, which is pretty fun. So hopefully everybody watching will set their alerts to know when we go live, and they'll join us. Appreciate the generosity though, C-Dog. Ty says we need to look at running backs. Not yet, but if somebody's injuries are worse than we are looking like right now, then we would. But I'm okay with Miles Sanders. I'm okay with Chuba. Okay with some kind of combination of even Spencer Brown, then Blackshear, and then LaVisca, right? So we have quite a few. These guys have looked pretty decent, and I'm okay with them at the moment. Let's go through a few other comments here. All right, so I am at my time for the night. I appreciate everybody that tuned in to the show. Appreciate all the feedback that you all will have. Please always feel free to leave me a comment. I do my best to go back and get to all of them. We'll continue to bring you updates and coverage tomorrow and Wednesday. They will be off on Friday, and then we have a game on Friday. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe.